So what we were looking at are the tenure data that were collected in the Penn survey. We have tenure information about forests at the village level and also tenure information about where people were collecting forest products from at the household level. So what we did in our analysis was we looked at the formal owners of forests and then who the de facto users are and what types of enforcement rights there are associated with the forests where people are collecting products. So it seems like part of the story in the data is that there are, poor people that are marginalized in some way, and it may be that they're having difficulty negotiating access rights to places that have high levels of enforcement. So it's either they don't have the social capital to get into those systems, or they don't have the friends that are in the right places to be able to leverage, particularly the high value income sources from places with higher levels of enforcement. So it's potentially a story of marginalization of the poor. The looser or the lower enforcement tenure systems are simply easier for them to get into because there's no barrier to access that they need to negotiate. But this is something that needs to be much more carefully teased out of the data. I think there's a tendency in the tenure world to want to push for strong clarity and strong enforcement, and those are qualities of tenure systems that are perceived as being good, and there are good theoretical reasons to think that, and there's also a strong empirical basis to think that that might be the case. We have a lot of information that shows that stronger enforcement is favorable for forest conservation and sustainable forest management. And I think what we're able to show here is that there's perhaps not a win-win associated with that type of tenure reform in all contexts. So in some places probably there is, but in other places there may not be. There may be situations where poor and very poor households stand to lose out quite a bit by more formalized or more strictly enforced tenure systems. So the RED debate, in my perception, has been heavily focused on these sort of advocacy-oriented arguments of, stronger, more secure rights for people. Higher levels of enforcement seem to be an obvious necessity, at least in some cases, if we want to ensure that carbon stocks are maintained over long periods of time. So, we need to think about what types of systems, and I think I need to clarify that these systems, because there's lower levels of enforcement, that's not necessarily a bad thing, and it may be that these systems are working quite well in the local context that they're situated in. So I think we need to learn more about the opportunities for the poor to benefit from forests that are under these tenure systems that don't sort of fall in the appropriate theoretical box that we expect them to, and then learn from that as we move forward with RED.